All right, Crystal and I are sitting here earlier in the week with Timothy Sheard, writes the Lenny Moss Mysteries. And first of all, Timothy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for asking me on.
Great. Thanks for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Lenny Moss?
Sure. Lenny Moss is a union shop steward in a fictional hospital in Philadelphia. He's the kind of steward who not only will go to the wall for you as a coworker, but he also is happy to help you with issues that are not necessarily contract related. So he helps with issues like literacy, family problems, immigration problems. He's always there for you. And so when I decided to write a mystery novel and I needed a detective to uncover the killer, I thought, who better than a shop steward? Because the shop steward has all these contacts and he has ear to the ground. People trust him. He has skills, investigative skills, interview skills. And I thought, who better to become a detective than a good shop steward? So that was my idea for creating Lenny Moss.
Right, and when I read this book, I quite enjoyed the book. It was a very good read. It was very interesting, and it struck me as odd that the number of people, the different types of people that would come to the union store to find information or to solve their problems. It was, from doctors down to the ladies in the laundry room. And then one thing that I noticed in this particular book, you learn a little bit about how unions work and what unions have to think about today. For instance, there was in this book there was a heat wave, and a lot of the workers in the laundry were becoming overheated. They were getting sick, and they kept talking about walking out and protesting. And Lenny Moss said, well, we can't really do that because what's going to happen is they're going to outsource your jobs, and you'll never get them back again. And that's something that, most people don't think about, but those are the type of things that you discover in this book. So I think Lenny Moss was a great character, and it's something that, union workers out there, any working man, I think would enjoy. Do you get much support from the unions as far as your books go, as far as promotion and things like that?
I do get very good reviews in the union press, and I've gotten some invitations from number of unions, like 1199 up at Hartford, 1199 in New York, Philadelphia. I have gotten support, asked them to come and speak about writing stories and about you and how important unions are. And I try to be realistic. You pointed out, Dan, that in this particular struggle, Lenny said, don't walk out, because they've been threatened to outsource. And if I were writing a more romantic story, he'd walk out and they'd win. But, I try and keep it real. And in order to win in one department, you have to get the whole hospital, the entire union behind you. You can't just have one department working on it. You have to have everyone united. And that's tough to do. So, I'm trying to portray a picture where we can win, but I take the long view.
And you mentioned you're on the. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're on the East Coast. Where you're from and what you've been involved in.
Sure. Well, I'm an old nurse. I've been working as a nurse for over 40 years. I started out as an orderly in a surgical ward, and then I went to nursing school, and I've been working as a nurse ever since. And I've been a steward on and off in my hospital, representing people. And I found that the first day on the job as an orderly, going out and helping people, saving people, helping them get up and walk after surgery, it was just one of the most rewarding experiences. I never really anticipated it, but it was just great. And even 40 years later, I still enjoy going to work because I still enjoy interacting with people, taking care of people. And my coworkers are my greatest joy, they're my greatest strength. That's what I tell workers when I help them with their writing. I say, what you do is honorable, what you do is heroic, what you do is inspiring, and you need to tell the world what you do. Because what we do really matters.
I mean, you do what you do is you provide workshops. You go to the union hall and you help workers write their stories. Is that correct?
Exactly. I'm a writing coach in addition to an author. I've been teaching writing for many years to the National Writers Union, which is a UAW local. And what I tell the unions is, usually get people together for an evening, get some pizza, something, and we'll sit down and I'll explain to people how easy it is to write a story. Write any story, something from work, something that happened at work, something that involves you, your clients, your coworkers, your boss. It could be anything. And then read it aloud. So we'll take about 20 minutes to write. Everyone writes a story. And then everyone reads aloud one at a time. And I explain to them how they can advance the story, they make it stronger, make it more believable, make it more moving, how they can structure it. And then I encourage the union leaders who are present to get their people to set up these circles and keep on writing and keep on reading aloud. And it's before you know it, you'll have stories that you can publish through the union newsletter online, in the union magazine. The union can put them together as a collection, as an ebook. And if you want some help, I can help you actually publish a print book. To me, you can publish a book that you can purchase, it's printed, it's bound, and it's very low expense. The expense is less than $100.
That's great, and like you said, I mean, a lot of people don't really know they have these stories inside them, and then I imagine you get a lot of times when people are really surprised that other people find their story interesting or worthwhile or quite enjoyable to read and hear about.
They're always surprised, and I'm always moved. I gave a workshop to nurses' aides who worked in nursing homes in the Connecticut, Hartford area, and one of them read a story about her coworker who was caring for a young man with MS who was terminally ill, and it turns out they grew up in the same town. And so this friend, this nurse's aide, brought in photos from her childhood in this small town where she and the client grew up. And every day they would look at pictures, and every day he would smile. And she brought a great comfort and joy to this young man as he was dying. And so she wrote this little story about it. And we all cried. She read it out loud. We all cried. And then I pointed out to her, now you need to tell this man's story, because just as you help this man remember his youth and remember his growing up, now you can help, let the world remember this young man and your coworker. You can tell the world about your coworker and how she helped this young man, and that's really important. It's important to tell the world these stories, because these stories are so powerful. And we're all laughing and crying at the same time. And this happens all the time when I'm in these workshops.
Most authors write from experience. They say the best books are written about what you know. So in your books, now I'm sorry I haven't had the privilege of reading any of them, but I am intrigued after this interview. So is there any situations or elements in your book that are kind of true to life, or can you reveal that?
Well, they're all true to life. I mean, the character is inspired by a dear friend of mine who's an $11.99 shop steward. And so he was the inspiration because he was always fighting for his people, even outside the contract. He was just there for them. And so when I told my friend that I was going to model my hero after him, he begged me not to do it. I did anyway. Eventually he forgave me. But, he's based on a real steward, because stewards are heroic people. And so all the books have struggles on the job with union issues, workplace issues. And those are based on real incidents that happened either to my friend or to me at work. And unfortunately, the evil doctor in the book that Dan read, A Race Against Death, who was butchering these poor black women and really putting them in danger. Unfortunately, a true story. All the stories are true. All I end up is a murder.
Now, you are getting ready to retire.
I'm
sorry from nursing, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. And then you hope to start a publishing company, is that right? To publish, I'm sure, some of these writers that you're encountering right now.
Right. That's the plan. I've been telling people, if you will continue working on your stories, I'd like to publish a collection of them. To people all the time who have stories to tell, I say, work at it, and then let's talk about it. And if I can bring them into print, that would be wonderfully satisfying to bring more workers into print and let them see themselves, published.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a heck of a way to quote unquote retire. Helping other people tell their stories.
Absolutely.
All right. What about? Are there any more Lenny Moss mysteries getting ready to come out? Are you working on a story right now?
Well, the newest one just came out in May, and it's my first novel about a serial killer. And I can't say too much about it in public because I don't want to give it away. But it's
right.
It's a very common story. There are psychopathic serial killers, and they do occur. And when they kill people in a sneaky way, no one realizes it because people die all the time in the hospital. And what usually happens is the nurses begin to suspect something's wrong. They go to management, and the boss tells them to shut up, don't make waves, don't make any accusations, you'll destroy the hospital. And this is typical of what happens in real life. So, in my story, there's a serial killer killing patients, and the nurses are told, they're shut down and said, you'll be fired if you make any accusations. So they go to Lenny Moss, and the nurses, the women, really take the lead in the investigation because they're in the forefront, and they gather the clues, track down the killer. And then with Lenny and with the doctor helping them, an infectious disease doctor, they all work together, and eventually they uncover this terrible crime. And unfortunately it does happen. So it's kind of inspired by real life.
Well, that sounds very interesting. I will have to pick up that. What was the title of that book?
The new one is called No Place to Be Sick. And another thing that makes it kind of interesting is that there's a serial killer, he's killing people. There's also a CEO, a greedy CEO in a hedge fund who wants to buy this hospital, it's a nonfiction hospital, and turn it into a private hospital and decertify the union, kick out the union, lay off a third of the staff, and make it, just squeeze money out of it. And so that's a different kind of murder, right? There's someone murdering patients, and the CEO wants to murder the whole hospital. I mean, it's a different kind of psychopath. And so Lenny is fighting two fronts, in a sense. And then at the end of the story, then you find out if, in fact, the hospital is bought up. And then the next book, which will come out next year, will be the struggle to save the union from decertification and try to keep the union. Because that's really what's going on today is this attack on unions. So I'm reflecting that in the book that's out now, and that'll follow up on the next one.
Right. I think all your books, so this one sounds, like I said, very interesting and very current. And, your books, at least the one that I've read, seem to be filled with people that we can all relate to, our friends, our neighbors. These are real working class people, and I think if people just give it a shot, how can they find your books?
Oh, well, they can.
Amazon?
Sure. They can buy them through Amazon, Amazon.com. They can purchase them through their independent local bookstore, which is a lovely way to buy books. Or they can get them right from my website. If they go to my website, they can purchase them from my website, and I'll autograph it, and I'll put it in the mail myself. If they want to read it as an e-book on their Kindle or on their cell phone, they can buy the Kindle or the Nook. They're very inexpensive as e-books. I price them very low, $3.99. And so they can get them as an e-book, or they can get them through their bookstore or right from me.
And what's the address of your website?
Sure, my website is timsheard.com.